hope everyone's doing well and welcome back to another weekly outlook. So cool. What we've had last week, right? Bit of a boring week. Of course, as you guys know, we've been in a EU position, leaving a runner. Nothing crazy. I believe we took one other position, a losing position on the S&P, which we can get into a little bit as well. But all in all, not an amazing week by any means. It's the start of a retracement. It's given us a bit of direction. It's not left us in a bad spot by any means. I do think the markets are lining up to give us something now, of course, which we'll get into. But yeah, last week, one thing we did expect that actually did not take place due to the government shutdown was on the Friday. We should have had NFP, and we didn't have NFP. We just had these small news events come out, and sort of just left it there, really and truly. So now, this week coming, just to note, nothing going on the Monday. Tuesday, bank holiday on the US dollar to watch out for. Wednesday, also very quiet. The big movers of the week on the Thursday and the Friday is the CPI and the PPI. They are still tentative, meaning it may not come out, but hopefully they do put that data out, and it gives us a bit more direction, keeps things nice and smooth. So cool. Let's start the monthly. So of course, as we know, new months open. Based off that previous candle, we wanted expansion in this direction. We still do want expansion in this direction, despite our sort of sweeping the highs, right? And what we are looking for is next week coming definitely a sweep on the previous weekly low and potentially a move towards this order block, right? The current range that I would use for price, and I said this to you guys last time as well, is that we can actually work off of this low instead of this low, right? And the only reason for that is it's essentially a safe low to use. I don't like the looks of this. I don't like the looks of using this order block here. We can still catch an entry next week, right? If we see previous weekly low, it's around here. Right? If I just show you guys this on the weekly chart, just to put things into perspective, if the next candle opens and trades this way towards this weekly order block, that's actually the OTE. That's the sort of area we like. And if anything, we might even get an internal liquidity sweep on this low, potentially to go, short on EU one more time. So that's essentially what we want for the DXY. US 10-year, we've started to move higher. We've gone back into that range. Overall, we know we want to hunt for this low. But from the looks of it, we're starting to build somewhat of a consolidation. We've got a nice wiki candle away last week from this order block. We want to see if it kicks. If it does kick, it's going to provide resistance against what we want for the DXY, right? Something to note. But if it decides to consolidate, then there's a good chance it can push higher, actually go for this higher, sort of stay in this range till it's ready to make that move down, right? So a bit of a 50-50 scenario here, considering where we are and where the week closed. Euro GBP swept the highs, now coming lower, which we like to see, and it's likely it's going to push for the discount zone towards here, sort of tap the top of that consolidation before we get a continuation, is the sort of thing I'd be looking for. Again, very similar. I'd look for the previous weekly low sweep into the fair value gap, potentially into the order block, to then carry on looking for higher prices for now. As you guys know, we were in that Euro USD position. We had that low marked that technically should have aligned with DXY's high. Of course, there's a very big disparity due to Euro GBP making such a strong move up. Now, we just spoke about if DXY gives that sort of daily OTE, and the range will be marked out essentially from this high to this low, right? And we just want to see how price treats it. We're very close to the premium, right? We're not far off. If price, comes next week, its previous weekly high, pushes towards this zone, we'd essentially be entering at the OTE. But of course, we know there's that possibility of getting the sort of internal liquidity sweep over here. And, we want to watch that. Now, I'll get rid of this position just to make things a bit neater. And if price trades here, sometimes maybe you guys are wondering how I hit the swings. You can be very technical about it. You can sit there think, what time of day is it? Is the high of the day put in? Am I catching the swing point? Or you can just keep it very simple, hit it off the 0.62, you're in the position, it's a swing. If it starts moving against you, you're going to have a couple of daily candles to react, unless some sort of crazy news comes out. And if it starts moving your way, after a couple of daily candles, you'll probably be able to trim. It's very, very basic, right? It's all about the approach in terms of direction. Can you actually nail which way is price going to go and where roughly do you expect it to turn around from, or rather, easier way to put it, high and the low, which one's stop loss, which one's target, essentially, right? And everything else in between becomes your risk management, trade management, blah, blah, blah. I believe last week you spoke about potentially being able to hit a position on USDCAD. I don't really look at it much this week, if I'm being honest. I'm not really sure if anything was offered. From the looks of it, not much. It does look like it's setting up a OTE to go higher in line with what the DXY is offering now. So an OTE here on USDCAD actually doesn't look too bad either if we work off this low to the current high to then push deeper into that high time frame premium. It's a very, very big move up. Quite a large move up. So what do we have marked out there? I believe it was a 4-hour OTE, which was not offered. It said pretty much a one-way move, push for the highs. And again, now very similar to USDCAD, you've got a sort of OTE to potentially work with. However, I don't really like the looks of USDCHF. It's a lot more choppy. It's not giving as big of a move. So if I was going to favor something so far, it would definitely be Euro USD and USDCAD, or potentially GU, depending on what Euro GBP is doing at the time. USDJPY, not really much to touch on either. It's got a nice range, but the ranges are smaller. If somebody was looking for OT, I wouldn't really work off of this low. Look for a discount from this only because I would consider that one an internal low. We made this low before actually breaking the high. And if we see where that is in the range, there's a good chance it could get swept out. Cool. Gold. Yep, nice sweep to work with. Last week, based on that closure, we expected a move higher. Not really given, but what we do like is it's showing there's some clear resistance around that 4,000 level, right? Or rather support. It doesn't really want to close below that. So if we can sort of match this, I would bet that eventually we start making that move back up. If we stay a bit sideways as we are here, very choppy and tight consolidation, then you should start considering that we might get sweep on the lows and see it as an A, M, D, and then go back up towards the highs. And S&P, taken out the swing that we had marked. If you see it as a weekly, this is the sort of range that we're sitting in. If we look at the weekly close last week, what we see is a close within the weekly fair value gap, a sweep, and a tap into weekly order block. So is higher prices still on sort of the outlook here? That's the best way to put it. Yeah, definitely. This is a sweep on an internal low. We sort of expected this low to stay. We saw price make a gradual move down here, so we were hopeful that respects the range and goes higher. It wasn't the best place to pin the low, especially now in hindsight. But what we can see is overall still respecting the high time frame range. It's got a very, very nice daily and weekly closure that supports higher prices going into next week and expansion this way. And lastly, take a look. Bitcoin making a move to discount the range, slightly come out of that, consolidation, made a sweep, taking these lows out, and now slowly trading back into that range. Really just wouldn't surprise me if, from here we essentially turn around, go back to the midpoint, consolidate there a bit, and then start pushing towards the high, and then it might stay back and forth for a little while. But this is definitely not a chart I will be trading or actively looking to position in. If we did want to position in terms of longs, then we definitely want to see a kick down this way, a kick below, sweeping the liquidity, taking us below that 100k mark, right? Right now we're bang on just above 100k using that as support, right? And price is really barely breaking below that. So if we get some nice weekly closures into this zone, a lot of panic being induced, then it would be very nice to actually position in and then aim for the longs. You might be sitting there for a while, but that's probably the best way to go about it. But yeah, guys, that's it for the weekly outlook. As usual, any questions at all, anything I can help with, please just drop me a message.